The controversial Mount Messenger bypass project on State Highway 3 in Taranaki, that's got a funding boost after a $10 million budget blowout. Its $280 million budget has jumped to 30%, an increase of just over $85 million. The blowout was only revealed after an Official Information Act request, and more increases are likely for the project, where just 1 kilometre of road has been progressed to what has been described as a sub-grade level. Our Taranaki Whanganui reporter Robin Martin joins us now. Kia ora, good morning, Robin.
Yeah, kia ora, good morning, Ingrid.
Hi
How you
there.
doing?
Very well, thank you. Now, what is this project?
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, the road over Mount Messenger is a steep, windy road with a narrow tunnel at its summit. It's got the whole area kind of has a high crash rate. It's about 50 kilometres north of New Plymouth, and is the main kind of economic link, to the north, to the big smokes, Hamilton and Auckland up north. About 2,500 vehicles go over it each day, and about 20% of those are heavy goods vehicles. So, and the 6 kilometre bypass essentially aims to make it a safer, easier route, and it will save drivers up to about 6 minutes.
Okay, well, that all sounds so far so good, but what's happened to the budget?
Yeah, well, what's happened is opponents of the bypass route, not the bypass per se or a road upgrade per se, put an Official Information Act request to the Transport Agency asking about contracts that, if any, had been made for the northern end of the Mount Messenger bypass route, which is still subject to a Public Works Act appeal process. And in its response, NZTA revealed there were no contracts struck, which kind of makes sense because they don't own the land yet. But also they revealed that they'd spent $290 million on the project so far. Now, that was kind of interesting because officially all we've been told so far is the budget is $280 million. That's been set in stone for a couple of years. So it's essentially a $10 million overspend. So, I was shared this information. I got a hold of the Transport Agency and said, what's with this $10 million overspend? And they volunteered information to me about what's being described as an interim funding boost of $85.1 million, which brings the total project cost now to $365.1 million.
Okay, that is quite the blowout. Is that a surprise?
Well, to be fair, I don't think so, right? So we've got multiple legal challenges which have held up this project for years. They've been building for about three summers now, and we've had this huge construction inflation problem since COVID. So I think we've all known that it was never going to cost $280 million. It's just that every time we asked, that's what we were told the budget was.
Okay.
So you alluded to it at the top. This time they're indicating, we've got this $365 million, but there's also more to come. But the NZTA is saying that a revised indicative cost estimate will be available later this year.
Okay, yeah. Well, we all know as long as these things drag on, the price is only going in one direction, isn't it? Speaking of directions, how much of the project is actually complete?
Yeah, I just got to kind of remind people the project was going to cost $89 million when it was first mooted, jumped to 200 about 2017, and the 280 was kind of put up in 2021. Well, the NZTA says they're pleased with progress at the site, and if you go up that way, it is quite busy. It looks like there's a lot going on. They say 20% of earthworks across the whole site are being completed, and that's been difficult because they don't own the northern end of the site. But just 1 kilometre of the 6 kilometres has been progressed to what they're describing, as you said, a subgrade level, which is explained to me as being excavated down to the road level where the road will be when it's eventually built. And they've also started work on 2 bridges on the project site and a 235-metre tunnel.
Okay, so as you mentioned, obviously some opponents to the whole project or to parts of the project. What are they saying?
Yeah, well, I spoke to Marie Gibbs, who's an advocate of upgrading the existing road, and she says Ngā Hapu o Potama have written to the Transport Minister, Chris Bishop, expressing its view that the NZTA board is not meeting its obligations under the Land Transport Act to deliver the project in a manner that seeks value for money. She's worried that they've carried on work. Well, they've spent $10 million that wasn't approved in the first place, and she's worried about how the NZTA board is making its decisions to carry on giving funding increases to this project.
Thank you very much for that update. That was our Taranaki Whanganui reporter, Robin Martin.